Time is a master at erasing traces, but there are stories that have refused to die. If you have the courage to listen to what has been whispered for 50 years, pull up a chair. It's going to be a long night. They say houses keep memories in their walls, that the floorboards, the ones that creak when we step in the middle of the night, are trying to tell us something. I always believed that. But in the case of the Valença mansion over in the parts of the Sereno Valley, the walls didn't just keep memories. They kept a secret that stayed locked up in the dark without seeing the sunlight for exactly 50 years. Today, I want to invite you to enter this house with me, but I warn you, wipe your feet before entering and leave disbelief outside, because what I'm going to tell today didn't appear in the newspapers of the time. It's not in the city's history books. What happened in that room, at the top of the stairs, was stifled by money, by fear, and above all, by pride that destroyed an entire family. Settle down. The story is long, the coffee is hot, and the night outside is asking for a mystery. To understand the end, we need to go back to the beginning. And the beginning isn't today, with the house falling to pieces. The beginning is in 1954. Imagine the Boa Vista farm at its peak. Colonel Otavio Valença was the man who ruled the rain and sun in those parts. They said even the birds didn't sing without his permission. A hard man. Straight. One of those who thought love was weakness and discipline was the only inheritance worth leaving. The house? The house was a jewel. The red velvet curtains came from Europe. The crystal chandelier in the main hall tinkled in the afternoon breeze. There were parties, dinners with politicians, loud laughter washed down with expensive wine. But there was a silence in that house. A silence that lived in the eyes of the youngest daughter, Cecilia. Think of a flower that grows in the middle of concrete. That was her. While her father was stone, she was water. Cecilia liked poetry, playing the piano, walking barefoot by the stream. She had just turned 18 that year of 54. The whole town said she was the colonel's princess. But whoever looked closely saw that she wasn't a princess. She was a prisoner. The colonel had already mapped out her life. She would marry the mayor's son, unite the lands, increase the power. No questions, no choices. But the heart? The heart is a stubborn beast. It doesn't understand fences or land deeds. The young girl, Cecília'S heart, already had an owner. And it wasn't the mayor's son. His name was Vicente. Vicente didn't have an important last name. He didn't have land. His hands were thick from dealing with the hoe and the horses. He was just the foreman's helper, but he had a smile, the old folks say, that lit up even a stormy day. They met in the intervals of destiny, a glance at Sunday Mass, a meeting by chance near the stable, a note hidden inside the breadbasket. It was an innocent love, pure and extremely dangerous. In those days, a high society girl looking at a farmhand wasn't just a scandal. It was a mortal offense to the family honor. They knew the risk. Can you imagine the fear? The butterflies in the stomach at every meeting? Until the night of November 12th arrived. I remember that date because it was the night of the biggest storm the valley ever saw. The sky looked like it was going to collapse. No one knows for sure who snitched, but the colonel found out. The screams coming from the office could be heard over the thunder. Cecilia cried. The colonel raged like a wounded lion. He said he'd rather see his daughter dead than poorly married. Vicente, poor Vicente, disappeared that very night. The truth about him is a mystery apart. But what happened to Cecilia? That was what marked the house forever. The next morning, the storm had passed, but a sepulchral silence covered the farm. The servants found the door to Cecilia's room locked, not just with the key. The colonel ordered boards to be nailed up, ordered chains to be placed. He gathered the family and said just one sentence. Cecilia chose her path. She ran away to the capital at dawn. She is no longer part of this family, and this room will remain locked until the day I die. No one enters, no one leaves. And so it was done. The room stayed there, at the end of the second floor corridor. Years passed, 1960, 1970, 1980. Dust accumulated. Spiders wove their webs in the keyholes. The colonel grew old, bitter, alone in that immense house. But my friends, the servants whispered. They said that, on quiet nights, if you put your ear to the door of that locked room, you didn't hear the silence of emptiness. You heard footsteps, light ones, as if someone were inside. Time is a judge that accepts no bribes. It collects everyone's bill. In 2004, the old colonel's heart stopped. He died alone. Only a great-nephew was left, a young man from the big city named Lucas, to settle the inventory. But in the will, there was a strange clause. My daughter Cecília'S room must be opened only in the presence of a family member and the notary, and whatever is inside must be burned. Burned. That was the final order. Lucas thought it was all an exaggeration. He called a locksmith from the city and they went up the stairs. It took almost an hour to remove the locks the colonel placed there in 1954 and reinforced over the years. When the last chain fell, the corridor went absolutely silent. Not even flies flew. Lucas took the key, this very key, and put it in the lock. The rust protested. The latch clicked. The door yielded. The smell that came out of there wasn't the smell of death. It was the smell of stopped time, smell of old lavender and stored paper. They entered. Lucas went to the window and pulled back the heavy curtains. The sunlight of 2004 entered a room that stopped in 1954. Everything was untouched. The bed made, the vanity with the hairbrush. It looked like a shrine. But then, Lucas's eyes got used to the light, and he saw what was in the corner of the room. Something that shouldn't be in a single girl's room. A cradle. A small cradle made of rustic wood, and on the wall, above the cradle, scratches. Vertical scratches, made with charcoal, marking days. Many days. Hundreds of days. Cecilia didn't run away on the stormy night, my friends. The truth hit Lucas like a punch in the stomach. The room wasn't locked because she left. The room was locked, with her inside. Lucas approached the cradle. Inside, there wasn't a baby. There was an old rag doll and a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon. The notary reminded him, the will says to burn everything. But curiosity is stronger than any contract. Lucas opened the first letter. The date? May 14th, 1955. 6 months after the supposed escape, Cecília'S handwriting revealed the horror. My dear son, today Grandpa came to bring dinner. He doesn't look into my eyes. He said that you are the proof of my sin, that you can never carry the Valenza name. In the letters, she counted the days, and on a stormy night, the child was born in that captivity. It was a boy. Cecilia wrote that he had his father's eyes, Vicente's. For 3 days, only 3 days, she could be a mother. Then the colonel ripped the child from her arms, said he would be given to a family far away. Lucas continued reading, his hands trembling. In the letter, Cecilia said, "Before they took you, I hid something in your swaddling cloth. Half of a locket. The other half stays with me." Lucas rummaged through the cradle mattress, and there it was, the half of a golden locket, broken. But there was a last letter, from 1958, 3 years later. The handwriting was already weak. Cecilia was dying of sadness and sickness. She wrote, "I know I will depart soon, but I go in peace because I dreamed of you. I dreamed that you didn't go to the capital. I dreamed that you are close." Lucas raised his tearful eyes. He asked the notary about the child's whereabouts, but no one knew. The secret seemed to have died with the colonel. It was then that something happened. The locksmith, that simple man who was hired just to open the door and who was there, in the corner, in silence. He was pale. He was staring at the half-locket in Lucas's hand. The locksmith brought his hand to his own neck, under his dirty work shirt. Destiny, my friends. Destiny likes to play tricks. The locksmith's name was Pedro, a 50-year-old man. A man who was raised by a distant aunt right there in the city, without ever knowing who his parents were. Pedro took a step forward, his hand trembling, and pulled a cheap silver chain from his neck. Hanging on it was the other half of the locket. Lucas brought the pieces together. Click. The fit was imperfect due to time, but undeniable. The heart was complete. Pedro fell to his knees crying. It wasn't a pretty cry. It was the cry of an entire life of orphanage being washed away. He discovered right there, in that dusty room, that he hadn't been abandoned, that his mother died missing him, that her love crossed walls, crossed time, and crossed death. The justice of men fails, but that of the heart doesn't. The farm, by right of blood and suffering, was Pedro's. Lucas transferred the deed to his name. Pedro didn't want to live in the house. He said there was too much sadness in those walls, but he did something extraordinary. He turned the mansion into a music school for the children of the valley. The locked room, they knocked down the wall. Now sun enters all day long. It's the room where children learn to play the violin. The music that his father, Vicente, played for his mother, now echoes throughout the farm. Where there was silence and secret, now there is melody and truth. You know, we have the habit of locking up our feelings, of hiding our hurts in dark rooms inside our chest. But the secret of the Boa Vista farm teaches us one thing. What we lock up rots. If you have a heavy key in your pocket today, an unspoken word, an unasked forgiveness, use the key. Open the door. Let the light in while there is time. Because life, my friend, life is a breath, and we cannot leave love locked in the dark. I am Elias, and these are the stories the wind told me. Stay with God. And until the next story.